Hello, GatherVerse. My name is James Murphy. I'm a lawyer. I talk about legal issues in the metaverse. Some of you might know me as MetaLawMan on social media channels. I'm delighted to join you today in the GatherVerse. This is going to be fun. Let me start by thanking Christopher Lafayette and his wonderful staff for the opportunity to be with you today. The mission of GatherVerse is to gather the world's communities together to collaborate to create a humanity-centered metaverse. I like that. I'm a big believer in this mission, and I'm optimistic that through Chris's leadership, that mission will be accomplished. I would encourage all of you to take a look at the educational videos that Chris has put up on the GatherVerse site. If you feel like you want to get up to speed on the metaverse in a hurry, that site is a good place to start. So let me start with my lawyer disclaimer. I am a lawyer, but nothing I'm going to say should be taken as legal advice. Please do consult a lawyer if you have any questions about your participation in the metaverse. So I'm going to talk to you today about the law of the metaverse, but we're not going to be talking about all the countries that are starting to take steps toward regulating the metaverse. There's a bunch of great issues there, starting with the question of who's got jurisdiction in the metaverse. But we're not going to talk about that today. Instead, I'm going to talk about a different kind of law. I'm going to talk about the law that governs the relationship between the user of a metaverse platform on the one hand and the owner-operator of the metaverse platform on the other hand. When I say user of a metaverse platform, I am including gamers, developers, artistic content creators, companies doing business or advertising in the metaverse, as well as investors in virtual assets in the metaverse. So when I say user, I mean just about everyone who interacts with a metaverse platform. As I'm sure you all know, there is not one single unitary the metaverse. Instead, there are hundreds, literally hundreds of different metaverse projects out there to choose from. I expect that in a few short years, there will be thousands of metaverses to choose from. When a user enters one of these metaverses, they are almost always asked to check a box on the screen, on the home screen, to agree to terms of service that govern that particular metaverse. You have to check the box to gain access to the metaverse. When you do that, you form an enforceable legal contract with the metaverse operator. Unfortunately, almost nobody reads those terms of service. But whether you read them or not, those terms of service are, in a sense, the law that will apply in each metaverse, at least for now, until governments in the physical world come in and start to dictate the rules in the metaverse, which I think is probably inevitable. Because so few people in the metaverse actually read the terms of service, we decided that my staff and I at MetaLawMan would take a look at the terms of service for 82 of the largest metaverse platforms operating today. And we released a report with the findings of our study. It's free, and you can access my report on Substack or on my website. What we found in those terms of service was surprising. It surprised me, and I've been a lawyer for a long time. I've seen thousands of contracts. So what's so surprising? Let me give you some examples. When you enter a metaverse, you will find that there are opportunities to buy things. You can buy clothing for your avatar. You can buy tools and implements to help you be more successful in a game. You can buy an NFT sword or shield or skin. You can even buy virtual land in the metaverse. All of these are generally represented by NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens. So the question you should ask yourself before purchasing virtual assets in the metaverse is, if you buy that NFT, will you actually own that NFT? Now, that seems like a very simple concept, right? Well, here's the surprise. in only about half of the 82 metaverses that we studied make it clear in their terms of service that you own the NFT when you buy it. Others are very clear that you do not own what you buy in that particular metaverse. You can't sell it, you can't modify it, you can't take it with you when you leave the metaverse. You literally have no property rights to the NFT that you bought. Now, that's a minority of the 82, but only half of them make it clear that you do own these assets, and the rest, it's unknown how that will be treated. But many people buy NFTs as an investment. There's a statistic out there that $100 billion were spent on virtual assets in metaverses in 2021. It's $100 billion of investment on various of these metaverse platforms. And some of them say you don't own what you thought you bought, and others are silent on the question, which is a little scary. So anyway, it's a good idea to take a look at the terms of service before you start spending a lot of money on a particular metaverse project. Next question you should ask yourself is, if you're going to build something, if you're an artistic person and you're going to create something, a piece of art to be displayed in an art gallery, or if you're a corporation and you're going to build a store to sell virtual goods or to simply advertise real world goods in a virtual setting, or if you're a company that puts up a casino in the metaverse, these all exist in various metaverse platforms. One of the questions you should ask yourself is whether, under the rules, the law that applies in that metaverse, are you guaranteed continuous, uninterrupted access to your creations? It's a pretty important question. Well, some of them say that the metaverse operator has the right to terminate your access to your account and your access to your virtual assets in your account at any time without notice to you and for no reason. Literally, the words "no reason" are in the terms of service. Now, one has to assume that this isn't happening a lot, that this is a policy that gives them this right, but you don't see it in practice happening a lot. But there's that danger, that right of the metaverse operator to terminate your account and terminate your access to the virtual assets that you have bought, or in this case, built a store, a casino, an art gallery, whatever it might be. So think about it this way. What if in the physical world, a third party could terminate your access to your own home, could prevent you from entering your own home with no prior notice and for no reason at all? What would you pay for that home, even if it was your dream house, if someone had the right to stop you from entering it for no reason at all? So it's something to think about before you make massive investments, whether you're a corporation or an individual investor or creator. Do you have continuous, uninterrupted right of access to your assets on a metaverse platform? Now, fortunately, what I'm describing are some outliers who say they retain the right to terminate your access for no reason, with no notice, etc. So that's a little surprising. Next thing we looked at in our study of the 82 metaverses was, what can you do if something goes wrong with your account or your experience on a particular metaverse platform? What if your NFTs are lost or stolen, or someone defames you or your products, or your copyright or trademark is infringed, or even if you were subject to a physical assault. That's happening in the metaverse as well. That happens. So the question is, what can you do? What are your remedies? Because we know in the physical world, you could sue someone in court and obtain a remedy. Well, what are the rules in the metaverse? They're different. 32 of the 82 metaverses we studied have explicit limits on the amount of damages that a user can recover from the operator of the metaverse platform in the event of a dispute. And that limit on recoverable damages ranges from $1,000 to a low of just $5. So that is the law in that metaverse, that the maximum recoverable damages of a user who might have their NFTs stolen or might be subject to some other unfortunate circumstance within the metaverse, their damages are limited to $5. Now, that kind of provision is not necessarily enforceable in every state in the United States, but I don't know about all the rest of the countries around the world and whether that's enforceable or not, but you've agreed to it. That is apparently the law in that metaverse, because you have the contract with that metaverse operator that says you agree to this limit in damages. Also, on this topic of what are your remedies, 7 of the metaverses require a user to litigate the dispute that they might have in a foreign country. And by foreign, I mean a non-US country. So one of them requires that if you have a dispute with another avatar on the platform or with the metaverse operator itself, because you were not treated fairly, let's say, you must litigate that dispute in the British Territory of Gibraltar, for instance. Others say you have to litigate in the Cayman Islands. You can't go to your neighborhood courthouse and hire a local lawyer and sue someone. You waived that right at the beginning when you checked the box saying you agree to the terms of service. Also, in this vein, 30 of the 82 metaverses say that any dispute arising out of conduct or transactions in the metaverse would be governed by the law of a foreign country. And by foreign country, I mean a non-US country. One example is one of these terms of service say any dispute will be governed by the law of New Zealand. So in the event you have a dispute, you'll have to go find yourself a lawyer that is knowledgeable about the law of New Zealand. I don't know any such lawyers myself. And as I said, I've been practicing law a long time. 46 out of the 82 metaverses we studied require all disputes with the metaverse operator, or virtually all of them, to be adjudicated in private arbitration. So that means not only have you waived your right to litigate a claim in court in the US or a court anywhere, you actually have to submit it to private arbitration. And some of them say that arbitration should take place, must take place in a foreign country. There's one that says that all disputes must be arbitrated in the city limits of Panama City, Panama. I haven't been there. I understand it's lovely, but it's probably quite expensive to find a lawyer and litigate a case from start to finish, an arbitration in Panama City, Panama. Sounds like it could be a little inconvenient and might dissuade someone with a legitimate dispute from trying to pursue an international arbitration. So Out of the 82 metaverses we studied, 59 of them contain indemnification provisions. So what does that mean? These provisions say that the user must indemnify the metaverse operator if the metaverse operator gets sued as a result of the actions of the user on the metaverse. This means that the user, indemnification means that the user must pay the legal fees that the metaverse operator incurs in defending the lawsuit, as well as pay any judgment or settlement in the case. And so that means even if someone has no valid claim against you or the metaverse operator, you nevertheless are on the hook for the legal fees to defend that case, even if you win. So in the United States, anyway, in the UK, the winner typically is awarded their attorney's fees. So the winner gets their attorney's fees. In the United States, we don't have that rule. Even if you win, when you're defending a case with no merit against you, you're still out the attorney's fees. And under these indemnification provisions, you not only have to pay to defend yourself, you've got to pay for lawyers to defend the metaverse operator if they are also a defendant in a case. How might that arise? Someone might claim that in a chat room, you said something that was defamatory against them or a product that they were offering, or you ripped off a design of something they had created in the metaverse, anything of that nature. When someone sues, they'll typically sue the person, the speaker, as well as the metaverse operator, under the theory that the metaverse operator is more likely to have money to pay a judgment in the event that the plaintiff wins the case. And so it's something to be aware of. As I said, 59, a strong majority of the 82 metaverse projects we looked at have this indemnification agreement that you enter into with the metaverse operator. When you check that box that says, I agree to the terms of service, that's in the terms of service. Also, what about when you want to sell an NFT in a metaverse that you may have purchased in the metaverse or brought to the metaverse? This is interesting. There are costs associated with those transactions that are not often prominently disclosed to users. So we found in only 11 of the 82 metaverses, was there a disclosure of the amount of commissions that a seller must pay when they sell an NFT in the metaverse platform. Those commission rates range from a low of 2.5% all the way up to a high of 30%. So if you have a sword that is very valuable and you sell it for 1.0 ETH, you actually will receive only 0.70 ETH on that sale if you're making the sale on a metaverse platform that charges a 30% commission. Also, some other things to be aware of is the seller is required to pay sales tax under the terms of service. The metaverse operator does not collect and pay the sales tax. The seller is obligated to pay sales tax or a use tax associated with that transaction. So you need to get some tax advice if you're in the business of buying and selling NFTs, whether that's on a metaverse or on a actual trading platform like OpenSea or Super Rare or Reddit or something of that nature. Here's another one to look out for: content moderation policies. What is that all about? Well, you've all probably heard about it in the news when it comes to social media platforms like Twitter or Facebook, where people are suspended or there might be hypothetically a high-profile political figure that could be banned from a social media platform because of violations of the content moderation policy. A lot of people, including me, were unaware that there were content moderation policies on most metaverse platforms. So in our study of the 82, we found that 64 of them had explicit content moderation policies that prohibit certain categories of speech. And they carry with them very significant consequences if you violate those policies. You can, for instance, be banned from the platform with no warning and with no right of appeal. And think about it, if you've invested a lot of capital in buying land or building for your company, stores or casinos, whatever, that's alarming. Well, is this actually anything to worry about? We look carefully at these content moderation policies, and some of them have some real ambiguities with them. A few of them say you can be banned if you say or do something that is offensive. They use the word offensive. Now, what is offensive is many times in the eye of the beholder, and it is difficult to know how the metaverse operator is going to view what is offensive and what's not offensive, because that's what will matter. If they deem something that you said or done or even created is offensive, then they have the right to suspend your account or ban you from the platform entirely. One of the platforms we looked at, their content moderation policy says you're prohibited from saying or creating anything that promotes dangerous activities. So what's interesting about that is many of these platforms that we're talking about are immersive gaming platforms where some of the games have as the primary objective killing other avatars, which is dangerous to the avatar. And so is that promotion of dangerous activities? That's the policy. One would assume that's not the intent of the metaverse operator. If you create a game on one of these platforms that provides developer tools to create games and people come and play those games, what if you create, a combat type game where they're shooting and killing? That's dangerous. So the problem is, as always, with content moderation policies, they have to be kind of generalized and they're subject to interpretation. And so you should be aware before you start investing serious time and capital in creating games or activities or even art in some of these platforms. What is the content moderation policy? What is its stated policy? And see if you can figure out how they're going about applying that policy and who does it and whether you actually have a right to appeal if someone concludes that you've done or said something that is offensive or dangerous. Finally, as I said at the outset, most people don't read the terms of service before they enter into this pretty important contract with the metaverse operator that sets forth the rules that will govern in that metaverse. But let's say, for instance, that you are a hyper-vigilant person and you follow the suggestion of MetaLawMan and read all of the terms of service of a metaverse platform before you enter the platform, open an account, and start participating in the platform and outfitting your avatar and playing games and buying NFTs, that you actually sit down and read the whole thing. Now, some of these terms of service are more than 30 pages long, so it's a little bit of an investment of time to get through it. But if you were the hypervigilant person and you went to that trouble of reading the whole thing, then you would know the rules that govern that metaverse, right? Well, unfortunately, no, not right. 77 of the 82 metaverses that we looked at permit the metaverse operator to change the terms of service at any time. So when you read those terms of service before you enter the metaverse and open an account and start engaging with the platform, if you read it all, the only thing you know is what the terms of service are at that moment. Now, many of them do not commit to giving any prior notice of changes to the terms of service. And many say that if you continue to use your account to engage on the platform after terms of service changes have been posted to the website, then you are deemed to have agreed to those changes, and you will be bound contractually to whatever those changes say. Even if you only read the terms of service at the very beginning, you're subject to changes over time. So, as I said at the outset, I don't give legal advice, but I do have a couple suggestions for you to take away from this discussion. First, before you spend any of your hard-earned money on NFTs representing virtual assets in the metaverse, whether it's to dress up your avatar or to buy tools or implements to enhance your gaming play experience, please read the terms of service to make sure you will actually own what you buy, and you can take those NFTs with you or sell them when you leave. Secondly, before you invest significant capital to acquire NFTs representing virtual land or buildings or anything else in the metaverse, read the terms of service to make sure you will not only own those items, but also that you will have the right to continuous, uninterrupted access to those assets. This is critical, because if you own something that you can't access, what is the use to you? Thirdly, if you are a creative type, before you invest your valuable time in creating user-generated content within a particular metaverse, take a careful look at the terms of service to be sure you gain ownership rights and intellectual property rights to your own creation. In my opinion, if you built it, if you created it, you should own it. Unfortunately, that's not how it works in every metaverse platform. So check the terms of service before you commit to a particular platform all of your time and creative energies. And lastly, if you are a chief metaverse officer or a consultant working for a Fortune 500 company to develop a metaverse strategy, please take a careful look at the terms of service before you recommend that your client commit their corporate resources and their corporate reputations to a particular metaverse projects. Some platforms are far more hospitable to corporate investment than others. All right, to wrap things up here, I am pro metaverse. There are many great metaverse projects out there. My hope is that by shining a light on some of these surprising terms of service, the metaverse operators will voluntarily adopt more user-friendly rules. So until then, just make sure you know the rules of the metaverse you choose before you check that box and commit to that contract with the metaverse operator. My thanks again to Chris Lafayette for inviting me to be here with you today in the GatherVerse. This has been fun for me. This is MetaLawMan signing off. Have your best day. Thanks.